Ashe. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Yeampierre, and you're listening to Bangles and Headdresses, a conversation rooted in our matriarchal traditions and reflecting on how our matriarchal legacy is going to inform and shape the challenges that we're faced with today. And I am so excited today because we have with us Nasim Lahbichi. And Nasim is a creator. He is a Brooklyn-based multicultural recipe developer who blends Puerto Rican and Moroccan roots into his vegan recipes. He is a world traveler. He literally manifested on the earth to just sprinkle pixie dust on everything that he does. And I'm just so excited that he's joining us today. Welcome to Bangles and Headdresses, Nasim.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so happy that you're joining us. Nasim, you know, what we talk about on this podcast is ancestral traditions and how we reclaim them. And so we ask everyone, what comes to mind when you hear the word matriarch?
I guess the first word is like nurturing, caretaking, empathy, especially like those. Yeah, I would say those three are the key words. Someone who evokes this sense of wanting to care for others and making sure that others are taken care of so that they can then take care of them as well.
So Nasim, I've known you a long time, a very long time. And I remember the first time I met you. And what I remember was that you were in middle school.
Yeah.
And the clarity, you walked into a space where we were working on environmental justice. And I think we were ordering trees. We were doing this reforestation project. And you came over to me and you said, I want to do food. And I thought, okay. And you made me really think about how food was at the center of doing anything that had to do with environmental or climate justice. You forced me into that conversation. You were clear. You knew what you wanted. You talked about food justice. And I thought, okay, this middle schooler is just changing my whole flow. And as I've watched you and gone on this journey with you, this visual journey, that clarity, that specificity, that focus on the thing that gives you joy has always been clear to me. So I'm wondering, you know, how did you get there? Like, what matriarch or what matriarchal lineage in your life got you through this and inspired you from childhood to come on this journey?
I would say my mom first and foremost. She is Puerto Rican, and she is the one who raised me alongside my Aunt Linda, who is not blood related to me, but she was a friend of the family, and she's Trinidadian. So I grew up with a lot of Caribbean heritage and this kind of like matriarchal energy in my life that was really nurturing and really pushed me to go after the things that felt like they were right for me in terms of my identity and not forcing anything that they thought I should flow into. I always loved food because it felt like the one thing that gave me a sense of comfort in a world and a society that didn't necessarily understand me as like a queer child or just being different, not even understanding what identity I had at that age, but knowing that I was a little different. And food was always just that one place that I would indulge in for comfort, for emotion's sake. And it was also the only thing that I felt I could connect to with my father, who didn't understand me and my differences, but we always bonded over food. Yeah.
People, you know, when I think of Moroccan and Puerto Rican, I think this is what the future looks like. It looks like this. It looks like sancocho. A little bit of this and a little bit of that, and fabulous, right?
Yeah.
So when you talk about Linda and her Trinidadian background and your mom who's Puerto Rican, we're talking about the Caribbean. And we're also talking about, you know, what the kitchen smells like, how they move through space. What were some of the things that you made with them? I think I saw a video where you're talking about Irara. Am I saying it right?
Irara. Oh, Harira.
Okay.
Harira.
And so there were some experiences that you have making these dishes. How do you pick? Like, how do you like select ingredients? Like, how does it smell? What's the experience? Because I just really think that for most of us, particularly those of us who are descendants from the global South, food is the connector. It's the thing that keeps us rooted and also has us celebrating takes us through loss, through all kinds of things. So share that with me, because you were really young and you're doing this, and most young people are not.
I would say the key flavors in my house, my mom stayed home to raise my brother and I. She also worked from home, and my dad was the main provider, so he was always at work. But the few times that he would come home and cook, a lot of Moroccan flavors were always in the house on the weekends. And during the weekdays, she would make arroz con salchichas, rellenos de papa. And then ironically enough, I always find that like a lot of New Yorkers or just like Caribbeans who live in New York, specifically like Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, will find this like fascination with like Italian food too. So she would make like a lot of pasta, chicken cutlets. Like she kind of just like flowed between this just like very hearty food. And it was very nurturing and flavorful. And I think finding the through line between, Aunt Linda's Trinidadian food, so she would make dal and basapshat roti and chana, and then also going home and then eating my mom's like rellenos de papa. And they were so similar yet so different. And that was something that I was always fascinated by.
Did your mom turn pasta into something Puerto Rican? Because I remember my mom would make spaghetti with like chuletas. And I was, and she would cut up the chuletas and they would be part of the sauce. And I never had that anywhere else except at home.
Like sausages?
It was pork chops.
Oh,
and she would chop them up. And I thought, Mom, that's not really Italian. She's like, yeah, it's Italian in this house. Right. So did she do that? Did she turn it her own, or did she just honor the fact, like, let me just stick to the recipe?
Yeah, no. So growing up, I had a best friend across the street, Gabby, who was Italian American. So I would go to her family's house in Bensonhurst every Sunday for like Sunday sauce. And then I would go home to my mom's and it would always be a little different. She would add like sazon to the sauce sometimes, or she would add, with the chicken cutlet, she would season it more with like adobo instead of just like plain breadcrumbs. But that was like the fusion of like growing up in New York City, right? Like the melting pot and having access to all of these different cultures, and then just pulling inspiration from just like how similar flavors are. For example, like my dad, saffron is so expensive, but it's such super expensive, especially in the US. In Morocco and the Middle East, it may be more accessible. But when he moved here, for example, like my dad growing up, moving to the city, at such an early age, he found that sazon was such a similar ingredient to saffron, and it was more accessible. It kind of provided the same coloring that saffron did, and also like a similar flavor profile, especially when you combine sazon and adobo together. It kind of gives this like floral aroma that that saffron gives. And it's, I don't know, it's really interesting to see how a lot of these flavors can bring people together.
I think that it's not just that you cook. I feel like you are creative. And for me, that's everything. I feel like we can't breathe without creatives. Like literally, as we're navigating our way through some of the challenges that we are right now, it's the creatives that are keeping us alive, that are inspiring us through arts, through music, through word, through cooking, through all the things that really are, I think, part of the continuum of our ancestral traditions, right? And for me, you are the manifestation of that. Because when I watch your videos, I'm not just watching you cook. I'm watching your joy. I'm watching how you are creating something that looks beautiful, that you want to get. I remember watching you reclaim a little corner and turning it into a coffee corner, right? So you know that I'm literally following you. So I guess I want to know a little bit more about that. Like also like, what influenced you to become a content creator and to like, what's your journey been like? Because it takes courage to go into a field that is new. Our parents often want us to make money, to have economic stability, and they don't really know why are they doing that? Are they going to be okay? And it's not that they don't believe in us. It's just that they're terrified that we're not going to have health insurance
for sure
and things like that. So share that, because I think it takes courage, but it also takes a certain amount of confidence and being grounded. And I want you to share that, because I'm fascinated.
Heavy on the health insurance part, because I pay out of pocket and it is terrible. But growing up, my dad was always more of like the STEM, typical like brown Arab dad, wanted me to go into mathematics. He studied architecture. And I actually did end up going to FIT for interior design. But my mom also went to FIT for the creative arts, for illustration. So I kind of had her, it's like the devil on one side, the angel on one side. both screaming into my ear, like in which direction I should go. And my mom always pushed me to just go after whatever I felt creatively comfortable with. And it's funny that you had mentioned that I was talking about food from the age of 12, because I remember 12 years old was when I had first fell in love with cooking, because my school had a cooking program. I think there was a grant that was awarded, and we had actually gotten a culinary classroom in our public school. And I would go after school every day and learn how to cook with Mrs. Katz. And then I actually ended up just flowing into interior design, because I was obsessed with like Minecraft growing up and playing those video games. And I would build my own towns and my own cities. I would have friends in like Canada that I would Skype with for like 4 hours every day, just like building like empires. And it was just like another opportunity for me to express myself creatively. So I actually graduated from FIT with a degree in interior design in 2020. I had a job lined up to be an experienced designer, so designing spaces, because that's another really, interiors are such a beautiful way to express one's identity, and also care for others in terms of how are you planning spaces to care for the people who are going to be inhabiting them. And it wasn't until after graduating and then getting laid off from my job because of the pandemic that I just fell back into cooking, because that was what everyone was doing during the pandemic. We were just like locked inside.
Everybody's baking bread.
Baking bread, which I actually did not bake bread. I was just like, baking bread is a whole science that I have not fallen into. My partner bakes the bread now.
Mm-hmm.
He's like on his sourdough journey right now. But I found that a lot of the joy in cooking came back for me. During college, I didn't have the healthiest relationship with food. So actually cooking and also educating and informing people about all these different flavors that they may not have access to was a really healing opportunity for me with my own relationship with food, and also like my culture and my identity with where I come from, and reminding myself of like, these are all the flavors that really cared for me. And these are also flavors that can care for other people as well.
I was listening to you talking about Minecraft because I play Sims.
Listen,
and
it's addictive.
And I am obsessed with designing houses and landscaping. And, I've designed my office. I did it in Sims. People look at it and they're like, it's so beautiful. Did an architect design this? I was like, no. I was playing Sims. And they're like, really? But it's, I'm intrigued by your telling me about your relationship with food, because I feel that in this country, in the US, that food is weaponized.
Yeah.
And it's used to define, if you're not well, if you look a certain way, like food is treated like this thing outside of culture, outside of everything that can hurt us. And so in a country that is so obsessed with how we look and how much weight we have and all of that, our relationship with food becomes really uncomfortable. Yeah. And we're afraid of the things that we learned from our parents, like that sort of like historical food that was that was not just nourishing, but was healing. And so to be able to reclaim that and is very powerful. And we're here to talk about reclaiming ancestral traditions. And you've got two rich lines coming from Morocco and from Puerto Rico. What was that journey like when you're thinking about food differently? What did it take for you to make peace with it and see it as a source of joy and reclamation?
I think the main journey was growing up in an immigrant household. Like I so violently wanted to be American, like assimilate. And that was something that I just like in a post 9/11 world, like anyone who was Arab was like not really wanted or desired. They were pushed out of society to some degree. But also on the other hand, I grew up in New York City where everyone on my block came from a different background. I had like a neighbor who was Haitian, Jamaican, Russian, Ukrainian, Italian across the street. And so I really found that a lot of the joy that I would experience at home was also like not understood outside of my house. And food was a really great way to be able to realize like how everyone celebrated differently and how similarly we celebrate, we just don't really understand it. It's almost like different fonts. It's like the same language, but different fonts. And it looks different. And sometimes it's a little harder to read, but if you take the time and intentionality to understand it, then you can really understand how like similar we are versus how different we are. And yeah, my main goal always, even in the work that I do, is to show people that like we are way more similar, even through the connections to how food travels throughout the world. You know, like if it weren't for India, black pepper would not have ever come over to like London, the UK. In Trinidad, a lot of the flavors came from India through indentured laborers. Even in Puerto Rico, you know, a lot of the techniques come from West Africa. When you think of like mofongo, that's just in West Africa, they do the same thing with fufu, where they're mashing the root vegetables. Yeah. So it's really fascinating being able to help people, along with myself, in real time, understand and like make these connections. Because I think it just like softens people's perspectives of one another, and kind of removes that like lens of difference. And it reminds us that there doesn't have to be an issue with difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Difference is something we celebrate.
Right.
It's what makes living in New York City cool.
Yeah.
It makes us joyful.
Exactly.
Homogeny is boring. You know, we think about all the different ways you can make a potato. But I think that all of this that you know about the transatlantic and you know trip that brought the enslaved with all their food and all their flavors, and how our indigenous people have contributed to that. Where did you learn that? Was that self-taught? Did you learn it in school or in your journey to explore how food could serve this creative passion of yours? Did you like how did you come to understand how complex it is and how much we have in common?
One thing, bringing it back to the idea of like matriarchal energy, I think anyone who embodies that energy, the women in my life did especially, there's like a level of discernment that they have that is really fascinating. It's like the level of discernment where they know you did something wrong and they don't know what yet, but they're like, I'll get you eventually. And I think my mom passed that on to me in terms of understanding like there's no way that these spices and these flavors could have gotten from across the world without something happening. And I've always been interested in like figuring out what that something was, and that level of discernment that a lot of people don't grow up with. And that's not necessarily their fault. I think also growing up in New York City or any kind of major city, you have this level of discernment because you have this level of needing to just keep your eyes open, you know, for safety, for understanding, and you're also exposed to so much that you're almost forced to look deeper. And that's something that even in the work that I do and the cookbook I'm writing, it is acknowledging the fact that not everyone has access to that level of discernment, whether it be based on where they live, access to diversity if they live, you know, in the middle in Ohio or in Idaho. It's not their fault that they grew up in a homogenous society, but how can we make it more accessible for them to understand that like these homogenous societies do exist and that it can exist so symbiotically and so easily. It doesn't have to be hard. And I think New York City is such a beautiful way of experiencing that.
I think we're really spoiled growing up here.
We are. I say that in the book. Yeah. We are spoiled, and we're actually privileged to be able to grow up in such a diversity.
Yeah, because it's always exciting. We're always trying something new. We're always listening to something new. We're always meeting somebody new. And I just think that, you know, you said Idaho, and I thought, we never think about Idaho. We completely dismiss entire states because they don't reflect our rhythm, and our rhythm is amazing, you know? So you've traveled all over. I'm going to want you to talk a little bit about your book because I'm excited about how you're going to put so much of what you do to paper. I want to hear about that. But these experiences have also taken you to other places where you've experienced other cultures, and you can then compare that to life in New York. What's that been like? Because I saw photos of you in India. I think I've seen photos of you in South Korea. I've seen you modeling. I've seen you wearing the most amazing outfits.
Thank you.
And thinking, okay, Nasim is doing it. He's doing that too. And I, of course, see all those things as being connected.
Of course, yeah. I think my main experience is, I feel like anyone who grew up in New York City with such like a rich culture, like even you, just there's no other way to express yourself than everything everywhere all at once. It's just like it comes out in the way that you look, in the clothes that you choose to wear, in the places you choose to travel to. I think India was one of my favorite places. We went to New Delhi for a friend's wedding. Indians celebrate their weddings in a way that I am envious of. Epic. Just like 48-hour rager. You're drinking, you're going to sleep, you're drinking again, you're celebrating. It's 98 degrees, like 98% humidity, and people are pushing through. But it's like a really beautiful experience being able to see how just like love is at like the center of a lot of experiences in life, regardless of where you are. I also had the privilege of spending 3 weeks in Vietnam, in Hanoi, with my friend San, who I'd met about 2 years ago. And, the book talks about a lot of chosen family, speaks on chosen family a lot. And, San and I had met 3 months or 4 months prior to him being like, hey, I'm going to Vietnam for three months. Do you want to come and spend 3 weeks with me and my family? And I was like, sure, why not? Like, this is a really cool experience. And being able to explore these different cities through the lens of someone who's been there is also really fascinating, because it's not surface level. It's like you get to see the deeper side and roots of how this like city runs, but also how the communities operate, and just like how similar New York City is versus cities around the world. But I also think, going back to like how privileged we are to live in New York City, it's almost like sometimes you don't even have to leave the city to experience how other communities outside of the world operate.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't even have to leave the neighborhood.
No. Yeah.
When I think about Indian weddings, I think about the jewelry, makeup. I think about Punjabi people dancing and just like tearing up the dance floor.
The henna.
Oh my God. All of it is just epic,
it's art.
right?
Everything is so intentional.
Yeah. And then Vietnam, I think that Southeast Asians feel to me a lot like Puerto Ricans. Yeah. I feel like Puerto Ricans are to Latin America what Southeast Asians are to Asia.
Absolutely.
The folks from Vietnam, the folks from the Philippines. The Philippines, who I think are
cousins.
Are cousins for real. They're island people, similar history.
Yeah.
I feel like we are the Filipinos of the East Coast, and they're like we're the Pinoy of like the West Coast. I think we have so much in common.
We have adobo.
Yeah, carne asada.
We're obsessed with like roasting a pig.
Yes.
Banana leaves. All of it.
All of it. Yeah.
We were both colonized by Spain.
Right.
So it's like so much of the history, and also like, unfortunately, the suffering, but how that builds resilience in those two communities, and how it shows up even in like the families, and how families are operated and run, and that kind of like energy that exudes throughout just like their pride and who they are. It's infectious. I love it.
Well, I'm glad that you've gone on those trips and on those journeys, because I think that people who don't leave this country seem to feel that this is the center of everything, and they don't realize that you have to get out and you have to experience other people. And if you want to live a full life, I don't know, maybe that's arrogant for me to say that, but I think it really expands your perspective and joy.
Yeah, it's not arrogant to say at all, and it's. The thing that's always unfortunate about it is the accessibility aspect of like how expensive it can be to even just like to get a passport, like when we talk about even things politically, what's happening now with like voter registration, the requests for passports to be shown for like a proof of identity. I'm like, that's expensive. That's like $150 to have access to just even travel.
It's exclusive.
But you can also find those communities in your, like where you live. I've recently visited Dallas, Texas, because my partner's sister lives there.
Sorry.
I know.
I'm not a big lover of Dallas.
But it's fascinating that they have a huge Muslim community there.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was shocked that I was on the freeway. I see the huge Texas, probably the largest flag I've ever seen in my life, just like flying in the wind. And then in the distance, I see a huge mosque, like in the distance. And there's also like a huge Korean community outside of like in the suburbs of Dallas. And there's so many pockets of like communities that nestle into the United States that aren't just like in New York City. In Dearborn, Michigan, they have a huge Palestinian community. Yeah. And there's a show by Padma Lakshmi. I don't know if you've heard of it, called Taste the Nation.
Yes.
Yes.
It's on Netflix, I think.
Hulu, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has 2 seasons. It's one of my favorite food TV shows. It kind of gives like Anthony Bourdain energy.
Ooh, I loved him.
But she travels the United States and goes to the cities where a main demographic lives, like has the highest population density. So I believe she goes to Florida for Cubans, and she kind of talks to them and engages with the community to understand like why they even came to this city to begin with. There's like also like a huge Asian, Vietnamese, Chinese population in Louisiana South.
That's true. And they've been there for a really long time.
Yes. Yeah. And since like emancipation, like they've just been there, just being a part of the community and also fusing their, like assimilating in a way where they keep their culture, but they also merge with the other communities that are around them. And I think that's a really beautiful part of like, just like even the country that we live in, of like how cultures evolve so that people can like survive in the places that they found themselves in. So you don't have to travel far to experience these cultures. And sometimes it just takes a little digging to figure out like, what's the closest community to me right now? And that's like a journey in and of itself, which I think could be really fun. Yeah.
You have to not only enjoy and appreciate it, you have to respect it.
Yeah.
And I think that what we find in places that are homogenous, I feel like homogenous places bring out the worst in people. Yeah. And I think that when we are integrated and experiencing each other, that it brings out the best in us. I think that it just brings out the best,
Absolutely.
That's why this moment that we're in right now is so terrifying, because it is bringing out the worst in people and trying to kill something that is essential in the Americas. One of the things that I talk a lot about Bad Bunny, I can't stop.
Stop.
I'm still in the Bad Bunny joy bubble. But one of the things that was really clear about Bad Bunny was how he centered a celebration of difference and how that was our strength, our relationship with each other, the social cohesion that is at the heart of bringing people from different races, ethnicities, flavors, music, sound, movement all together in one place. And we're really lucky. Yeah. We're really lucky that we are those people who are so comfortable with that we love that we attract that, and we can celebrate that. It's not like anybody's better. It's that collectively we're the best.
Absolutely.
So I'm really so happy that you've had that experience. And I wonder if in your travels, there were dishes that you were exposed to that you were like, ooh, and whether there were ingredients that you brought with you that you can't find here, or that, did you discover anything like that?
In my travels, I would say my favorite is probably bún chả. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a Vietnamese dish that is, I guess, more popular to Northern Vietnamese cuisine. So a lot of Vietnamese food in New York City specifically comes from Southern Vietnam. So like pho, and then you'll have banh mi. But bún chả is kind of like a vermicelli noodles with grilled pork patties, and then it has a beautiful like savory sweet fish sauce broth, and you kind of just like dip all the herbs and the noodles into the broth and eat it in one swoop in one bite. And that was the only thing that I really ate the entire 2 weeks that I was in Vietnam. I didn't even have pho once the entire trip. And then also upma in India. It's like it almost reminds me of like couscous, like a savory breakfast couscous or oatmeal. And we would eat it every morning. And I remember posting it on Instagram, like, I'm obsessed with this. And all the Indians are like, this is literally just like saying you're obsessed with cereal or oatmeal. It's like, what do you mean you're obsessed with upma? We hated eating this growing up. But it's just like, it's so comforting and easy. And you can tell it's like really enriching and feel like nourishing. But yeah, I think there's so many different foods that you can experience throughout the world. I'm really excited. I haven't been to Korea yet, but I'm visiting Korea at the end of this year, and I'm excited to just like experience all the seafood there and just how different also the food is versus the Korean food here in the city or even in Los Angeles.
You may have to leave Seoul for that.
I know. Yeah, Busan or Jeju Island where...
Oh my God. It's a K-drama dream.
I'm really excited. Have you ever been to?
No, I've just traveled through K-drama,
No.
but I know Jeju Island. I know the women that go out there and go fishing, and they
The
literally
divers.
like there's nobody like them in the world. They
Did you see
literally
the
can go
documentary?
deep.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
very cool.
It's just, again, it brings up the idea of like matriarchal. Like these are people who are constantly like providing and have like the strength to constantly like just go out and provide, like do something to better their community and even just like provide in general.
Yeah, I love the intergenerational relationship that they have.
Yeah.
I love how important aunties are. It's a culture that I think that we have a lot in common. I was sharing with you before that the reason speaking Korean is easy for me is because it sounds so much like Spanish. How they emote and how they pronounce things and speak with their hands feels very familiar to me. Right? Like they don't just say hello. It's like 안녕하세요.
Right.
And you're like, hey, what's up? Right? It feels like that. So about your book.
Yeah.
So what can we expect? Because I think that, I, of course, watch your videos. Me and like 500,000 people are following you and watching. And that's got to be, by the way, overwhelming sometimes, right? And because it's 500,000 people having expectations sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is I want to hear about the book, but how does that feel like? Because I think that, so I've had in this work that I do, I've had an opportunity to meet some celebrities. And I noticed that when I'm on a panel with them, that people are overwhelmed them, almost like they're not human. Like they feel like they own their bodies.
Right.
And I'm very protective. I'm like, just leave them alone. Let them have their space because they're people.
They are.
They have feelings, and you're like really breaking all the boundaries. What does that feel like?
Sometimes even you saying like 500,000, like I don't even view it as that. It just feels like the community that I've built over time. But there is a weird parasocial relationship that comes into play. Even, when people come up to me and say hi on the street, they're usually like really nice. But there's like a level of, they'll try to take time out of your day to a degree. Not everyone, but there's some times where they're just like, there's a lack of understanding that, oh, I'm also a human, where I'll have a bad day. Or there was like this one time I was walking in the park with a friend, and I'm a New Yorker. I have a resting bitch face sometimes. And I'm a Virgo. Like it's a double-edged sword. And this woman and her husband were like looking at me, but they looked like they were glaring. So I was like glaring back because I was just like confused. And I opened up my Instagram and I saw that she had DM'd me saying, oh, I've never been disrespected like this before. I wanted to say hi and you made me feel like less than, and how dare you? I'm disgusted with you. Like you just lost a follower. And I was like, you didn't give me the benefit of the doubt. Like if you even came up to me and said like, hey, I really love your stuff, you would have seen a completely different version of me. But I had explained, I'm like, I'm queer. I'm a New Yorker. Like this is how people act. You're not from here. Like I have a facade on to protect myself when I'm walking in the street because that's what I grew up. That's how I was raised by my mother.
Absolutely.
So it's weird, but I'm on the other hand, like I'm super grateful for people even like caring to like listen and giving me the opportunity to share my voice and like my perspective about culture and food and queerness and like how they all kind of like intercept with each other.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think people misunderstand New Yorkers.
Yeah.
I think our directness, the way that we navigate our way through the world, our authenticity is our flex. I think that's how we show people respect.
Absolutely.
You go to places like California and everybody's like smiling and you're wondering, what are you really thinking or feeling? But here you're in New York City and people, what you see is what you get.
Absolutely.
So
what is it that they say? It's like LA, people from LA are nice, not kind, and New Yorkers are kind, not nice. Yeah.
I've never heard that. That's so on point.
And there's a difference, there's a difference between kind and nice. Nice is very superficial.
Right.
Kind is like who you are as a person. It's like deep rooted.
I just think that no matter what's happens in New York, whether it's a brownout, a disaster, people will step up and they will take care of each other.
Absolutely.
And that's not the story people tell about us.
No.
But the book.
Oh, yes.
So let's go back to the book. I want to know all about it. I want to know like how this started, what we can look forward to enjoying and learning.
Yeah. The book is coming out in May 2027 or spring 2027, but Its title is still in the works right now, but the main concept of the book is talking about my experience growing up in New York City, in a multi-generational household with different backgrounds, but also like growing up queer in that household, and how similar the idea of chosen family and queer communities shows up in immigrant communities, but we just don't call it that. And my first experience of that was like with my Aunt Linda. You know, she was a chosen family member because she was someone that was not blood related to either my dad or my mom, but she raised me alongside everyone else. And I really just wanted to showcase how similar food can bring people together, regardless of where you're from, and just continue the story of what I share online into like a more physical format, because I think we're losing that a little with social media.
I think this is the first time that I hear anyone talk about how you create community and how that's also an immigrant experience. Because we know sometimes people come and they get a room in an apartment, and they share a kitchen and they share some of the common spaces, and they create an entire community. And how sometimes your family that you created is the only family you have. You know, I think that's tremendously important. So I know your mom. I love your mom.
She's crazy.
Yeah, I love her. She is crazy.
She's crazy.
She always has been, and she's that good kind of crazy. So as a mother, I have to ask, how's she feeling about this journey of yours, these videos, the fact that you are writing a book? Like, how's she feeling about that?
I think she's like my best friend. She never really expresses it. I know she's very proud all the time. I think she just is really excited. She'll share my videos all the time on Facebook and to her friends. We just cooked a video together for shrimp guisado for a video that I'm working with a brand, and she's just like always excited to share her culture and also like explore Puerto Rican food even more with me, because growing up in New York, there's such a disconnect from the island that you just sometimes forget about the actual flavors or cooking it, and you just end up falling into eating takeout or just like eating whatever's the easiest to make. So she's really proud though, and I'm grateful for her support, and she's always supported me from such a young age, even like bringing me to UPROSE at the age of 12 and be like, you got to do something. Like, you can't just be at home all summer, just like sitting and playing Minecraft. And I'm grateful for that she saw that I had it in me versus, I love my brother, but I don't know if he would have had that fire under him to do it. And she is really, again, it's that discernment of being like, this person, I know what he needs, or like what would actually propel him forward. And she's always kind of had that like kind of rallying energy behind her.
I remember when you showed up, and I think your brother was there too. He was interested in football.
He's
and you both radically different.
Yeah.
You were interested in food, and you were interested in climate change. You were concerned about that.
Yeah.
And you really dominated. Like, you were the youngest, I think, of the young people that we had at the time. And I remember you making phone calls, and just like everybody was sort of passively making the phone calls, and you were like in character. You took it seriously. And I just think that that's who you are.
Yeah.
Like, you have something that you want to do, and you take it seriously, and you make that thing happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited, and congratulations on the book.
You.
I think this is amazing, and we're definitely going to promote that, because I think
I appreciate it.
When someone young, Puerto Rican, Moroccan, queer, from our community, a child of our community does something fabulous, that's something we want to put shine on, and we want to share, because we're proud. As a mother, I can't help but being proud.
I appreciate you.
So let me ask you, I just get lost in the story. Magical dishes, like where can you share where we can find you creating your magical dishes on social media?
Yeah, you can find me at Labco, LAHBCO, on Instagram, TikTok, and hopefully my book soon in the next year on shelves in Barnes & Noble.
Absolutely. We're going to make that, that's going to be something that we have our own Anthony Bourdain here. I'm just gonna say that I watched Anthony Bourdain once go to Palestine and go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And in both shows, the thing that stuck with me the most was how deeply respectful he was of the culture.
Absolutely.
And how he talked about food in those places. Because I had braced myself. I literally sat at the edge of my seat thinking, okay, he's in Puerto Rico.
Right.
What is he going to do? Like, how is he going to talk about it? And when he was done, I was like, that's what's up.
Yeah.
That's how you do that.
Yeah.
And I think that I feel like you come from the same tradition of really honoring the flavors, the culture, the custom, the presentation. Like, I think you think about so much. And it may be simple to the viewer because they've not done the work.
Right.
But you've curated an entire experience for us.
That means a lot. Yeah, I think, thank you for saying that. It's a lot of times in the food space, especially, I think ego can get in the way a lot of people's understanding of like, it's deeper than like you or like what you care about this dish. It's like, there's so many things that have happened before you for this dish to even be, for this idea to even come into your mind, or for you to even be able to experience this, this culture and this cuisine. And sometimes separating yourself from that is how you get to dig deeper into it. And it's sometimes people don't even have the time or the wherewithal to understand that they should be doing that. And that is, it's this like level of discernment that is a skill that you can work on. And I think Anthony had there, like, it just came from his fingertips. Yeah.
It was spiritual.
Yeah. Very spiritual,
Yeah.
very spiritual. And I think he became more spiritual as he continued to travel and be embodied, like be encompassed in all this energy in all the places that he's visited. Yeah.
Which is why I've been so excited about your journeys, because I feel that as I've watched your trajectory, it feels like it becomes more complex, more beautiful, more vibrant, and like you keep growing and growing, almost like you're taking different strands from different places and they're becoming integrated into who you are. And that has been a most beautiful thing and you're, you know, you're still a young person, so I'm looking
28.
You're baby
I'm hitting
boy.
my Saturn return.
What? Baby boy.
It's going crazy.
Yes. So what it means is that there's so much ahead.
Yeah.
Right? There's so much ahead that we can look forward to. This is what you're doing right now. Just really grateful, one, that we get to be part of that journey and that you were here today. And I want to thank you so much for coming. It was... when I heard you said yes, I was like I was a human Daffy Duck. I was like, what? Nasim's coming. So excited.
No, I appreciate, I also want to say that like, I thank you and UPROSE because I think you and the community you've built is what made me even more excited to dive deeper into like food and food justice and understanding these like through lines and how important it is. And I don't know if I would have been here without UPROSE as well.
Thank you.
No.
Well, the one thing that you said when I met you actually took us on a different journey too. And I say that because people don't really understand the significance of intergenerational relationships. They think that we are multi-generational. We're not being changed by the experience. But when you started talking about food, it made us think about food. And so it meant we needed to figure out, how do we engage in food sovereignty? How is food sovereignty important in a world that is being affected by by extreme weather events and climate change? And so it became sort of a pillar.
Yeah.
But it really started with like this 12-year-old saying, "What I want to do food," and I was like, "Okay, let me think that." I took it seriously.
Yeah.
Like I take it seriously, and I had to look into it. So I am grateful because we're changed by you, right? You're not just changed by us. So thank you so much for coming to Bangles and Headdresses. I hope, viewers, that you enjoyed this conversation. Make sure that you hit like and subscribe and join the conversation on our Instagram and TikTok accounts at Bangles and Headdresses, all caps. Until next time, ashe.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Ashe.
Thank you.